I am doing the most. What's going on? Episode 56, the home front. You're going to have to pardon the noise in the background. I have a live studio audience this evening. And we're doing a Q&A session. So be sure to share this out. Let me know that you're here. Hit the like button, love button. Hey Allah, how are you? Q&A session tonight, live studio audience. So there's a lot of background noise. Right. Be sure to share this out, guys. Don't be selfish with the information. Doing a live Q&A. Do this every night for you guys, so you can get a little bit of information. Hey Sham, what's going on? So be sure to ask questions. This is what today's episode is for. Any questions that you guys want to ask, I can answer. If I can't answer right now, I will get the answer for you. First question I have was from the live studio audience. She said, if she's pre-qualified up to a certain amount of money, why would she spend less than that? My answer is, if you're pre-qualified up to $250,000, but the mortgage payment doesn't fit your budget, then you would probably want to spend less money. So also you have to look at what comes in the house that you're looking for and what's important. But basically that's the reason that you would spend less of amount than you're pre-qualified for. I've had clients get pre-qualified up to $350,000, and I say to them, we need to find out your mortgage payment, and then if you're not comfortable with that mortgage payment, then we need to find out how much you're qualified up to with the mortgage payment that you're comfortable with. So any questions you guys have, please shoot them out. We are doing a live Q&A session for real estate tonight. Do I have any more live studio audience questions?
At what point would you ask, let's say you go through a house and you see there are certain things wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
The windows are older.
Okay.
Okay. Or it appears that, there might have been a leak before. At what point do you ask the people, I want to buy your house, but I want you to fix this item or that item? At what point do you ask that question?
Excellent question, and I will repeat it for you guys. In case you couldn't hear it, real quick, I want to say hello to everyone that's jumped on. Bill Smith, Sham, Tony, Avi, Andrew, thank you so much for joining. Be sure to share this out. We have a live studio audience. I'm getting stares right now. So, thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing. I appreciate you. The question was, at what point, and I kind of addressed this last night, when you're going through a house to make an offer on the property and you see that there are things wrong with it, at what point do you ask for those repairs? Well, I always say, I am not your home inspection specialist, I'm a real estate agent. But we need to first do step one in the process, which is make the offer on the property, if this is the house for you. At which time we get to the home inspection, your home inspector will come through and actually tell you what's wrong. Unless you've been a home inspector in your previous life, then you may just want to wait for the home inspector to point out, here's what's actually broken, and make recommendations. That's his job, that's what you're paying him to do, and that's what you need to wait for. You got to get to that step in the process. How did that answer your question?
Pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions? Please feel free, guys. What's up, Wade? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you for sharing, Andrew. Thank you so much. Guys, let me know that you're on here so I can say hello and ask me any of those real estate questions you've been dying to find out answers to.
Ooh, I got one.
Live studio audience, what's your question?
Mr. Cotter.
What?
That show from the 70s, Mr. Cotter.
Okay.
Welcome
now we're
back,
talking
Cotter.
about TV shows.
Oh, jeez.
So go ahead. What's your question?
What about we go through the house and let's say I like the drapes.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you ask, can the drapes convey?
Okay, live studio audience had another question. Thank you, Wade, for sharing. Much appreciated. The question is, if you're going through the house when you're previewing, thinking about making an offer, when do you ask what conveys? At that point, when you're getting ready to write the offer, you can ask for anything, pretty much anything. I mean, there are pretty much standards For example, we wouldn't ask for a TV. That would probably be something that we would sell outside of the contract. But if you like the drapes, you would say, can the drapes convey? Usually it's in the listing, but if it's something that you really like, you can always ask for it. All they can do is say no. Hey, Edgardo, thank you so much for jumping on. Tonight we are talking about any questions you guys have questions about, ask them. I will answer them, and if I don't know, I will find the answer for you. So any questions you guys have, put them up here now. I would love to answer them for you. Studio audience.
Okay, let's say the house looks really good to me, except the carpet is like crappy.
Okay, that's a good question.
Now, is that during the home inspection, or can we say something prior to the home inspection?
Well, the carpet is a different situation. It's not something that's broken. First, let me repeat the question in case you can't hear it. If you go into the house and you see, example, the carpet is a little worn and old, at what point would you ask about replacing it? One, you could either take down the price to cover what you might think you're going to pay for the carpet and kind of note that, the agent can note it, or you can ask that the seller make a concession on the price towards that at closing. So that would be during your offer. It would definitely wouldn't be a home inspection item because it's not a defect. So Andrew asks, after doing a little research, I did find that every wholesaler has a good realtor to help them on the back end buying it. I saw this multiple times. True or false? I don't know. I can't speak for every wholesaler, but I do know that a lot of investors do work with realtors because it's always helpful to have that connection. So I would say that it's probably true or closer to true. I can't speak to statistics because I haven't done the research, but I know that investors typically work with realtors because it's just a good connection to have. So hopefully that helps you. Studio audience, any other questions?
If I get approved for $250,000, would I want to buy a home for $250,000, or would that be a good idea, or would it be a wiser idea to go under my budget so that I can have money to fix up?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the question: was if you're approved for $250,000, if the home needs to be fixed up, do you go under your budget to fix it up? Well, one, they don't give you that extra money. If you purchase a house for $210,000, you don't get that money unless it's a special type of loan, like a 203K loan, and there's certain restrictions that go with that. So you could be qualified up to $250,000, but it has to be that special type of loan where they give you that money to put it back into the house.
Well, what's the difference? Explain the difference in the loans.
Well, it depends. Again, the 203K is an FHA loan. It's an FHA product, which is a first-time home buyer's loan, but is a special type of loan to specifically purchase a house to fix it up.
Now, this sounds like it's an extended type of answer and can't be covered in this show because you're already doing other things, but do you think you could do a show one night where you explain the different types of loans to us?
You're right. I need to get a loan officer that I'm working with to explain different types of loan. I do have questions on the ARM and now the 203K, which is one that a lot of people ask questions about because, there's also different ways you can ask. And I really don't know how this one was done, but when my brother bought a home, they actually asked for some sort of concession, and they put it into loan. It was not an FHA 203K loan. I have to find out how they did that because they got money back at closing to fix up the house. So I'm not really sure. It may have been where they said, and this is a guess. No, this is a guess that maybe they upped the price and asked for the seller to make that much of a concession back towards them. I don't know exactly how they did it. I have to find out how they did that one. But there are ways to do what you're asking, but specifically that loan type would be a 203K FHA product.
Okay, but if I make enough money to qualify for $250,000 and I buy it for 210.
Mm-hmm.
That means instead of my mortgage being 30% of my income, it's now only 20% of my income or less. So I could spend that 10% of my income to fix the house up myself.
Yeah, it would have to come out of your pocket. But
Right.
it's better on your budget because your mortgage is going to be lower. If you spend less than you're qualified for, obviously, then your mortgage is lower.
Okay.
So it's good. I had one question. FHA is only if you don't have 20% down. Right. No, not exactly. Hey, Michael Smith, thanks for joining. There are lots of different loans. Actually, conventional loans they have types of conventional loans where you don't have to put 20% down. That is more of a past thing. You don't have to have 20% down anymore. There's the USDA loan that you don't have to put anything down. The VHDA loan, which is a Virginia loan, you don't have to put anything down. And conventional loans and FHA loans, you can do 3.5% now. Or there's a 5% product too. So the 20% is
But
not
the
as
money you
common.
put down
Mhm.
is not the same thing as not having to bring anything to the settlement table.
It is
correct?
not. Money down is not the same as having to bring anything to the settlement table. There are other costs, and I've talked about this before. There are other costs you've got to consider. The home inspection is a must. I always tell people to get a home inspection. It runs between $350 and $500, depending if you're getting a radon and how big the house is. You also need to have money for the appraisal. You pay that up front. So about $475, somewhere to $500 for the appraisal. Those are at least the two minimum things you have to pay for in advance. You also need earnest money. Earnest money is how much you put down when you write your offer, so that you show the seller that you're serious. And
Is
it
there a
goes into
minimum
escrow.
amount for earnest money?
There's no minimum amount, but I always tell people somewhere between $500 to $3,000, also depending on the cost of your home. If you're buying $1 million home, you want to put more than $500 down. You probably want to put, a couple $1,000s down, because it shows that you're more serious about the home. Especially if you're in a competing offer type of situation, you want to put more money down because it makes your offer look that much stronger. What else? There was another part of that question.
Well, settlement costs.
Settlement costs. You also have settlement costs, which are negotiable. You can ask the seller to pay those costs, which are typically 3% of the sales price. And when I ask that, I just write the 3% of the sales price into the contract, so that if you change the price at all, you don't have to worry about changing that. But they can be a little higher or lower depending on your state. But they can say no. They can say, oh, well, we'll pay $5,000 towards your closing. So the costs that you really have to consider are going to be appraisal, inspection, and closing costs. Down payment you may or may not have.
Is closing costs something that they will negotiate on, like maybe pay 1.5%? And
Closing, you're talking about the seller?
yes.
Closing costs are negotiable, meaning that you can pay them yourself, or you can have to ask the seller to pay them. It does not have to be paid by the seller, but if you just don't have the cash, you can figure it out. I always tell people there are options. First, you can start by asking the seller to pay the closing. If they don't want to, or they're only going to pay a portion, your other option is to take the cost of the house up to finance them into the property. Now, with that, you have to make sure that it appraises. But if you're kind of splitting it and you're within, a couple $1,000s, it might not be a problem. Any other questions?
I think you've exhausted mine tonight.
I think I've exhausted the studio audience's questions. Please let me know if you guys have any more questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for jumping on here tonight and spending some time. Hey, what's up, Jose? Maybe it's different in Tennessee. What, the FHA? I think the FHA is pretty similar across the country, because it's a loan type. So all the loan officers have the FHA loan. I mean, have you actually met with a loan officer to talk about the loan types? Because I know the USDA is out there. The VHDA is one only for Virginia, obviously. But you definitely want to find out the different loan types. I know you do not have to have 20% down anymore. Hey Tracy, what's going on? Thanks for jumping on. Jose, Jesse, thank you so much for joining. If you guys have any questions that you'd like to get the answer to, it says, Wade, aren't you glad we don't have to worry about all that? The seller inspection. yes, you guys definitely have a lot less to worry about with investing. Top of market value, bottom of market value comps, and then find buyer investor. Maybe it was because it was. No, first-time home buyers have more options. I'm not really sure. Maybe, I don't know. I'd love to talk to you about that and find out why you think there's only 20% down options. But yeah, that's first-time home buyers have more options than anybody else.
Could it be the state that they're in?
It could be, but I don't think. I will do some research. I'm not going to definitely say for sure, but I know there are a lot more options, and I'm not going to say that only Virginia has 3.5% down. I know that that's an across the country deal.
Yeah, because it's a government
It's
subsidized
FHA,
option.
yeah, it's FHA, and then the VHDA and USDA both have grant money that goes towards the down payment.
Right.
You just have to stay in the house for a period of years. I think it's 3 or 4 years, and they give you grant money to put towards that down payment. So you're only financing 96.5% of the loan. You're actually getting 3.5% for free.
I wonder if that could be a bank thing.
I don't think so. FHA is like a standard federal government type of loan. I mean, I'm sure there are different overlays, but that has to do with credit scores and debt to income ratios.
Yes.
No, I'm not. Andrew said I had 10K down on 120K, and the investor says because we didn't have 20% down that he had to escrow an FHA. Yes. Are you thinking PMI? Because if you don't have 20% down, you have to pay PMI, which is your mortgage insurance, and that's just to lower the risk. And that never goes away. You pay PMI through the life of the loan. I think. I am not a loan officer, so I'm not going to say that for sure. But I think you pay the PMI throughout the life of the loan.
For as long as you have the mortgage. I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty sure.
Because it's the insurance in case the house has to go to foreclosure.
Yeah, it's an insurance that the mortgage company lowers their risk, but it's not the only option. 20% is not the only option, but yes, you do have the PMI insurance. He said you're probably right, though I misunderstood. Well, we can talk about that one. I'd like to know the terms of that one because maybe I can at least I could learn something. If I don't know, then I would definitely find out the answer for you. Well, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate your engagement. That's what I do this for, so you guys can get a little bit of information about real estate every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow.